Power doesn't always arrive as conquest. Sometimes it arrives as permission. The Hello Reach was a dying sector of space. Its stars were dimmed by overharvesting, its planets hollowed out by extraction treaties written in languages their people never even spoke. And at the center of it all sat Chancellor Adrian Hale. He was the architect of the Stability Accord, a document that promised peace but delivered control. In reality, he was an executioner in everything but name. Hale didn't command fleets of warships. He didn't need to. He commanded dependence. He controlled the resources, the trade routes, the very lifeblood of a dozen star systems. And if you wanted to survive, you played by his rules. Captain Nina Varela knew his methods all too well. She had enforced them once. Her job titles sounded noble enough: convoy escort, peacekeeping, selective evacuations. But she saw what those words really meant. She saw who got left behind in those evacuations, which convoys were protected and which were left to pirates. For years, she told herself that survival demanded compromise. That was the lie she lived by until she finally saw what that compromise truly cost. Her ship, the Larkspur, slipped through fractured space, its engines humming a quiet protest. She was headed toward Verkash, a world of towering stone spires that pierced open thermal skies. It was one of the last true refuges of the Aurelian clans. They were a magnificent hybrid species, born from the fusion of savanna predators and skylords, half lion, half avian. Their entire culture was bound by the freedom of flight and the strength of their claws. Their leader, Tarek Sunfall, greeted Minya beneath a sky streaked with ash clouds. His mane, once the color of a sunrise, was now darkened with age. His powerful wings were folded tightly against scarred shoulders, a testament to countless battles. His gold eyes, ancient and wise, watched her with the deep caution of a species that had trusted outsiders before and paid for it in blood. "You return as a witness," Tarek's voice rumbled, deep and resonant. "Or as another lie?" Nina met his gaze, the weight of her past pressing down on her. "Neither," she replied. "I return as someone trying to live with what I've done." The Aurelian clans were the next on Hale's list. They were marked for relocation under his Stability Accord. The official reason was progress. The real reason was that their world, Verkash, contained a rare biothermal lattice, a geological formation essential for powering the entire Hello Reach's infrastructure. Hale promised the extraction would be minimal, that the Aurelians' way of life would be preserved, but it never was. Minimal was never in Hale's vocabulary. The other delegates arrived in secret, one by one, like conspirators gathering in the shadows. There were the Mirathi, amphibious traders whose very survival depended on the water rights that Hale controlled. The Kovac Synod came next, cybernetic ascetics who preached a cold logic, believing that order justified even extinction. And finally, the Umbral Choir, mysterious gas-based entities bound to containment vessels, their voices silent unless translated through complex machines. Each of them had already signed away pieces of their future to Hale, trading their freedom for the illusion of security. Then Hale himself appeared. Not in person, of course. He was a projection, a flawless hologram that shimmered in the air, immaculate and calm. His voice was smooth, reasonable, the very picture of benevolence. "Progress requires sacrifice," he said, his projected eyes sweeping over the assembled delegates. And the Aurelian people refused to evolve. Beneath him, Tareka's talons scraped against the stone floor, the sound like grinding rock. "You mean," the old leader growled, "we refuse to kneel." The air was thick with tension. Everyone knew this was the final act. But the betrayal didn't come from Hale's fleets or the other delegates. It came from within. A younger Aurelian commander named Kasher, driven by a desperate love for his family, made a fatal choice. Hale had promised him a private deal. Activate the planetary access codes, and his mate and hatchlings would be safely evacuated. It was a lie, a cruel and simple one, but Kasher was desperate enough to believe it. He activated the codes. The moment he did, the trap was sprung. Extraction fleets, not evacuation shuttles, flooded the system. The skies of Verkash darkened with their arrival. The plan was executed with chilling precision. The Mirathi, honoring their deal, immediately closed their borders, trapping the Aurelians. The Kovac Synod supplied the targeting algorithms, guiding the extraction drills with ruthless efficiency. And the Umbral Choir, the silent observers, simply went silent. In the command chair of the Larkspur, Nina watched it all unfold. The lies, the betrayal, the cold, calculated destruction of a world. She had seen it before. But this time she refused to be a witness. This time she would be an actor. She made her choice. She rerouted her ship, the Larkspur, turning it from an observer into a weapon. She plunged it directly into the extraction grid, aiming for the heart of the operation. She burned her ship's core, overloading the very biothermal lattice that Hale coveted. The planet screamed. Tectonic fury tore through the stone spires, shattering the landscape. The lattice, the source of immeasurable power, collapsed into a chaotic, useless singularity. In a single moment, billions in potential power were lost forever. Hale's furious voice cut through the static and chaos on her comms. "You've condemned this entire sector to darkness, Varela." Nina, her ship breaking apart around her, answered quietly, her voice steady. "No, I've condemned you." Without the lattice, Hale's power evaporated. His leverage was gone. The foundation of his control, built on dependence, crumbled. Systems that had bowed to him for years now saw their chance. They revolted. Trade routes collapsed. The great stability accord, that monument to his cruelty, shattered under its own weight. The Aurelians survived, barely. Tarek stood beside Nina on the surface of his broken world. As the last of the refugees lifted into the sky, their wings heavy with ash but flying free. "You saved us," he said, his voice filled with a weary gratitude. Nina shook her head, the truth of her actions settling into her soul. "I chose who deserved to live." Tarek's golden gaze hardened, not with anger, but with a profound understanding. "That is power," he replied. "Never pretend it isn't." As for Adrian Hale, he vanished. Not killed, not imprisoned. He simply faded into obscurity, alive, but irrelevant. For a man like Hale, it was a fate far worse than death. The Hello Reach fell into a new era of uncertainty. Darkness did claim some worlds, just as Hale had predicted. But others adapted. They found new ways to survive, new ways to be free. Nina Varela drifted onward, a captain without a ship, carrying a truth she could never escape. Survival is not clean. Justice is not gentle. And every moral stand you take leaves blood on someone's hands. But she also knew something else, something she had learned in the fire and ash of Verkash. Extinction leaves nothing at all. And that she had finally decided was simply unacceptable. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more tailies from the far reaches of space. Until next time.